What's good? It's Colleen Witt and Eating While Broke is back for Season 3. Brought to you by the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. We're serving up some real stories and life lessons from people like Van Lathan, DC Young Fly, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and many more. They're sharing the dishes that got them through their struggles and the wisdom they gained along the way. We're cooking up something special, so tune in every Thursday. Listen to Eating While Broke on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Presented by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're a smoker or dipper looking to make a change, you really only need one reason to do it. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you can find many. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch. It's made with only 6 simple ingredients. Plus, Zyn is the only nicotine pouch with a 10-day hassle-free trial. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Find your Zyn online or in a store near you at zyn.com/find. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Thursday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. It's presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. He's Matt Citak. I'm Paul Dottino. So glad you could join us for the next hour. Again, a little bit later today. We're doing a 1:30 afternoon start because of the OTAs and the media sessions. The Giants have been doing those once a week over the last month, and so these shows need to be delayed so that we can bring you all the news of the morning and the early afternoon. We feel it's a hell of a lot more productive to do that for you and for us. And so, oh boy, do we have stuff to tell you about today. It was a great day for the offense all around. We'll get to that in just a second. Want to let you know our number to call for the next hour is 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. You could also go to Twitter if you're bashful. Hashtag Giants Chat. He's at Matt Citak. I am at Giants WFAN. And as a reminder, if you missed the show live, you can always get an archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcast. Where do we start?
I was about to ask you the same thing.
John and I just put up a quick video. Has it posted already, Pearson? Yeah. We just put up our 2-minute recap of the OTAs, but for those of you who haven't seen it or didn't get a chance to look at that yet, we'll go a little more in depth into what happened during the session. And, of course, some of the media session notes as well, which don't get put into the OTA recap. Suffice it to say, this was the best offensive showing of the spring. Would you not agree?
Yes.
Excuse me, I'm all choked up because it was just so beautiful.
It definitely was, starting with the first 7-on-7 period and going throughout all of the 11-on-11 drills as well. Most of the team drills today, unlike the rest of the days this week, the team drills took place in the red zone or around the red zone. Most of it was inside the 20, even from the 10-yard line and in. They did a little bit from around the 30. But, the last couple of days we've seen them kind of had the line of scrimmage set from their own 20 to maybe midfield. And today was the opposite. Today they did a lot of red zone work. And so it was good to see the offense, having a good day when it got close to the end zone.
Let's go back to what we were starting to talk about before the quick break. And that is the 7-on-7, which opened up the team portion of practice, was absolutely outstanding. Daniel Jones was as crisp and as sharp as you could possibly be. Threw touchdown passes to Nabers, 2 to Hyatt, 1 to Wan'Dale Robinson. All 3 were right on the money, spun them beautifully. The receivers all made really nice, sharp, crisp, assertive catches. And that was just, the 7-on-7 was just like exactly what you would want an offensive coordinator and a head coach to see.
100%. I mean, we've been limited to only seeing Daniel Jones in these 7-on-7 drills. And when it comes to team drills, he hasn't taken part in 11-on-11.
And again, let's make something clear. Dable said that's just the way that they're working his schedule. Yes. This is not because he's getting pared back. They're just bringing him along slowly.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget. literally like 7 months ago that he tore his ACL. And he's out there doing some team drills, which that alone is very impressive. But yeah, it was great to see him out there. And one of the things that was most impressive for me, I was in the end zone that they were going towards, right in the corner, so I got a pretty close look. And you could just see that Daniel Jones was going through on a few of these touchdowns. He was going through his reads. You saw it, like, look towards one receiver, then move to the second, and see the third open and throw it to him right away, all within a couple seconds. That's obviously what you would like to see from your starting quarterback. Daniel Jones looked great today. Obviously, again, 7-on-7s, he doesn't have a pass rush coming at him. Probably a little bit more time back there than you would have in a game situation. But given the circumstances, that's about as much as you could ask for him in that team period.
Yeah, I think it's very important to remember that in these particular throws, he was throwing where only the receiver could make the play because there was tight coverage by the defensive backs. And he put the ball where only his guys could get it, and they went and got it. And that's what I think made these throws and these plays a little more impressive than just a regular touchdown catch. Because, like, there was one where Hodgins was in the end zone from Drew Lock. There was no one within 5 yards of him. There was a busted coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have made that throw, right? but these other throws earlier in the 7-on-7s by Jones were all the kinds that you want to see if you're a coach.
Definitely. I mean, and so he was on the field for a total of 7 plays. They did a running play for one of them.
Right.
Of the 6 plays that he actually threw the ball, he ended up 5 of 6 for 4 touchdowns. With the 5th reception, got them like within the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
So it was an encouraging day from Daniel Jones for the entire offense. It started with the 7-on-7s and then fully carried over to 11-on-11s, which again, most of which took place within the red zone or right outside the red zone.
Now I'm going to cheat here and kind of mix in a little bit of our media session with Jalen Hyatt with this 7-on-7 because Hyatt talked about he added some bulk. Now remember, he added 15 pounds from the time he got to the Giants since his career in Tennessee. And now this year he says he's added a little more. He wouldn't tell us how much, but he did say his priority was to get stronger. He wanted his hands to get stronger, and he wanted to be stronger and more physical at the point of attack. Now, why am I mentioning that right now? Well, because the 2 touchdown catches that he made during 7-on-7 indicated that exact type of trait in terms of being stronger at the point of attack to get the ball skills. And that showed up. He also mentioned the fact that him and Daniel did not get a chance to work a lot together last season. And during this offseason, they have. As Jones has been throwing during his rehab, Hyatt has been the receiver who has been on the other end of most of those throws.
Yeah, and you can see the connection is building between the two of them. I mean, as Jalen said, he didn't get a ton of time with Daniel, whether it was because of injuries during training camp, Jalen being brought along slow as a rookie last year, then obviously the injury issues that Daniel Jones had throughout the season last year. So this is the first time they've really had a chance to like really throw to each other, just about every single day. And you can see that the connection is building between the two of them. And in terms of Jalen Hyatt himself, I was, standing right next to him during his press conference. He looks bigger. His upper body just looks bigger than it did.
Got a little more maturing going on there.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
a little more thickness.
When he came in, I know you said, and he brought this up last year, that he added, about 15 pounds or whatever from the time his season ended to when he arrived at the Giants. Well, from when the season ended, this last season ended to now, his arms just look bigger. I mean, let's not get him. We're not going to get him confused with Malik Nabers or Lou Ferrigno anytime soon. But
or Schwarzenegger, right?
But given that his biggest skill set is his like top end speed, you don't want a guy putting on so much bulk and showing up for OTAs looking like DK Metcalf.
You also don't want him getting pushed around though like a rag doll by bigger DBs.
Of course, that's why he said his top priority was to get bigger and stronger. And again, there's no contact right now, so we haven't really got to see him, going up against Deontay Banks with press coverage. But for what we have seen so far, we've seen just a lot of encouraging signs from Jalen Hyatt.
More impressive ball skills specifically today, which can be the result of being a bit stronger, especially with your hands and when you're reaching for the ball. All right, let's quickly go to 11 on 11s. I got a whole bunch of things here. There was some defense, though. I do want to tell you, Mills and Belton had a couple of nice passes defensed during the 11 on 11s. Jones did not do 11 on 11s. Again, they're holding him back. Really good day for Drew Lock. One of his best days so far of the spring. Fingertip grab by Coda. I had Nabers with a couple of really nice touchdown catches. One was leaping and reached, which was terrific, expanding his catch radius. And that's probably where we really should stop, although I will also say Cager had a diving touchdown grab. Johnson had another, Theo Johnson, who continues to have a really good spring. Tracy made a really nice catch in traffic for a touchdown on a bullet. Ford Wheaton caught a nice pass as well in traffic. Giles had a nice one from Rourke, who was able to throw a touchdown pass. Just some of the really nice plays we saw in 11 on 11. But I do want to go back to Nabers, because a lot of people have been sending us messages on Twitter. You know, why haven't we seen some more big plays from Nabers? Well, we saw them today. He looked really, really spectacular today.
The Malik Nabers that we saw in practice today was the Malik Nabers that every Giants fan has been praying that we would be seeing since they selected him with the 6th overall pick. You mentioned the 2 touchdown catches. Those were 2 just, not even for OTAs, just in general, 2 just downright impressive catches. Now,
the athleticism. That's the important part to remember.
Now, Drew Lock definitely deserves some credit, because both of them were beautiful passes.
Yep.
But when the practice photo gallery goes up on Giants.com, as soon as we're done, you will see one of the Malik Nabers touchdown catches front and center right away, and you will see outstretched arms leaping just towards the corner of the end zone, gets both feet in. It was right in front of me.
I know. I saw you there.
It was hard for me to not start.
You might be in the clip.
It was hard for me to not start jumping up and down, celebrating with the rest of the offense. It was that impressive of a play. And, it's just been good today, especially to see Malik Nabers show, some of the traits that led to the Giants selecting him 6th overall. The Giants have never taken a wide receiver that early before, prior to Malik Nabers. And from what we've seen so far, and especially today, he has all the makings of a just bona fide number 1 receiver.
See, the thing about it is, folks, and again, it's OTAs, and we always tell you out of the other side of the coin that you can't learn a lot. Well, you can't, okay? There is no contact, so it's not real game conditions. The receivers know they're not getting hit.
Of course.
They're not going to get blown up. We get all of that stuff, okay? But they do these drills and these passing situations for a reason. They are still hoping to see guys understanding the playbook, running the right routes, getting the right looks, finishing off the plays, no matter how much value you want to put in them. It's certainly better to see a guy make a catch like that and show that he has the athleticism in him than running the wrong route, getting yelled at by the coach, or dropping the ball, or having the ball go 5 yards over his head for an incompletion, or having the defensive back read the play better and getting it picked off. So, yeah, there's not a lot of bonus points you give to anything that's done in OTAs, but it does count for something.
Oh, for sure. I mean, without a doubt. Like, as we've said throughout these spring practices, you got to take everything, even that we say, with a little bit of a grain of salt.
How about a 5-pound bag of salt, to be honest? Because I don't want fans to just think that, okay, we're giving you just a bunch of sugar here and it's Kool-Aid out the wazoo. That's not the case, okay? We're giving you what's impressive, but we also want to make sure you understand the perspective of it.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
And even on those, those 2 Malik Nabers touchdown catches that we've mentioned, first of all, let me see. They were both from I think 30 yards out. Mm-hmm. Those were not close to the goal line.
Oh, no.
Red zone place. Those were deep throws that Locke placed beautifully where only Nabers could get it, and Nabers just made amazing plays. And I just want to mention, it's not like the defensive backs on those plays did not have good coverage, because they did. They were, running with Nabers for most of the route. But, one of the reasons the Giants selected Nabers with the 6th overall pick was his speed and his explosiveness, and he just creates separation. There aren't a lot of cornerbacks that are, if they're just running straight lines or even running routes, there are not a lot of cornerbacks that are going to be able to keep up with Malik Nabers' speed. He is going to be able to create separation like some of the best receivers in the league. Now, obviously, there's more to being an elite receiver than just creating separation.
Of course.
But that is a very big part to get down. And again, it's only OTAs. There's no contact. But in that regard of that aspect of his game, Malik Nabers has just done a tremendous job so far.
All right, let's try to quickly. We're going to give out the number because we want the second half of the show to be your calls at 201-939-4513. You can ask us anything about what we've seen at OTAs. It was a media day today, so that's the beauty of a media day. We can talk about things.
Yes.
We tell you all the time how there are some things we can't talk about, and I know some fans get frustrated with that, but on a media day, it's all out in the open.
Yep.
We can tell you what we saw. And that's good. There were no restrictions in that regard. Couple quick notes from practice today. Okay, Brian Dable says he's unsure when Evan Neal will return to 11 on 11s. He did sit out the team drills today. Again, he had the offseason foot issue, so nothing to necessarily be alarmed at right now in the first week of June.
Yep.
Dable said Hyatt made tremendous improvement in terms of knowing what to do. There is no update on Darren Waller. Dable said he has texted him a lot throughout the offseason, but there's still nothing to report. The writers tried to press him on a deadline for next week's mandatory veteran minicamp. Dable would not go there. So that still remains to be seen. Very happy with Deonte Banks, showing a lot more comfort in the new defense. Really happy with Singletary, his leadership traits, knows the system, very smart. Says Tracy's picking up things quickly. Very encouraged by the running back room. What else? Nubin, very smart player, asks a lot of questions, very attentive. They're giving him a lot of work. Gunnar Olszewski did not work today. He had twisted his foot the other day, slipped up in practice.
Last week.
Coach says not too bad. They expect him to be ready for training camp. So that's another piece right there. What else? All right, that was it for Dable. Anything that you wanted to add about Brian Dable?
Not from Brian Dable exactly,
Okay.
but I just, have been raving on and on about the offense since we came on air, and I just want to give some props to the defense as well, because I know you did mention this, but the defense did make some plays. Boogie Basham had at least one, definitely would have been a sack, was in the backfield multiple times, had a couple of pressures. I know you mentioned that Jalen Mills had a pass breakup. Kayvon had a couple of pressures, was in the backfield in the quarterback's face a few times. And Caleb Hayes had a couple of forced incompletions. I believe he's undrafted rookie, or was he was here on the practice squad?
He was practice squad last year. Practice squad.
He made a couple of nice plays as well, batting the ball, down. And then Trey Hawkins and Tyler Nubin had a forced incompletion in the end zone as well. And Jason Pinnock had a pass breakup right in the end zone. So, it definitely was a great day for the offense, but the defense had its moments as well. So just want to give them their due credit.
And we've been giving them a lot during the last month.
Yep,
So I kind of was I wasn't going to go too much there. I wanted to give the offense their chance to shine because they really did it today.
When you're in the market for a new SUV, you want a vehicle that will handle your daily commute, navigate the elements, and can adventure with ease. You need the reliability of a Toyota and the confidence that your investment will last. Why? Because after all the carpools, rugged trails, and weekends out, you want an SUV that still has plenty of miles left in it and holds its value for a great trade-in deal. That's where Toyota leads the pack as the #1 resale value brand for 2024, according to Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com. So check out the legendary redesigned Land Cruiser or spacious Grand Highlander or test drive a RAV4. Available in gas, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid models. And remember, when you choose Toyota, you're not just buying a car for today. You're investing in trade-in value for tomorrow. Visit buyatoyota.com, the official website for deals, for more. Vehicles projected resale value is specific to the 2024 model year. For more information, visit KelleyBlueBooksKBB.com. Kelley Blue Book is a registered trademark of Kelley Blue Book Co., Inc. Toyota. Let's go places.
All right. Items from the media briefings. Singletary says it's great to be getting back to an offense he knows. Remember, he was in Buffalo for 4 years, then went to Houston last year. Unfamiliar situation. Now he comes back to Brian Daboll, only this time with the Giants. Thinks that's a really good thing for him. Said he doesn't care about what the rotation is. It's always about being ready all the time, trying to win, help the team, not worried about being in the shadow of Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's wearing 26. It's kind of hard not to be. But he said he's not going to worry about that. Maybe that shows how he's not worried, because he is wearing 26.
Well, that's his number.
I understand, but there would be some people who don't want to take that number after the last guy who was here.
That's true.
Singletary also said, running back always wants 1,000 yards, but again, it's all about helping the team win. Hyatt, we talked a little bit about him and what his goals were and how he's doing better in his second season. Let's see what else. Says there's a lot of excitement bringing Nabers into the wide receiver room. Knew him from their time together in the SEC. Says the whole wide receivers room is adding confidence now because they see a guy like Nabers who can make plays, especially in yak yardage. So that's pretty cool. Says always has high expectations. Thinks this is a playoff team. He did say that. He did say that. Jay Highland thinks it's a playoff team. Let's see. Nabers' uniqueness is about explosiveness at his weight. Has an impressive yak yardage, says he's learning quickly, and Daboll will certainly make use of it. What else is real? He said Steve Smith, the veteran Panthers receiver who was here, gave the receiver some good tips during the 2 days that he stopped in. That was pretty good. Talked about his respect for Daniel Jones, is here every day at 5:30. The receivers love the guy because he just works his butt off. That's it from those two fellas. Anything you want to add from those two?
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of, I guess, somewhat important that Hyatt he was asked about Daniel Jones, but you just briefly mentioned it. He mentioned how Daniel Jones is the first person in the building every day, and Jalen Hyatt guessed, he's like, I think he's here by 5:30, but I don't know because it's before I'm here. So, and that he's the very last person.
We've been told, though, it was 5:30 by other people. So that's how we know.
Daniel Jones is also the very last person out of the building after everyone else has already left. He made sure to praise the quarterback's work ethic, and it is very, very clear that the wide receivers, the offense, everyone on the team, they have confidence in Daniel Jones. Jalen Hyatt said, he is our guy. Like, we have so much confidence in him. We cannot wait to see him back healthy and back out there on the field to show everyone else what we know he can do. I'm paraphrasing there, but that's basically what he said. And that, I thought, was just, it's great to hear, because I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This season, 2024, Daniel Jones gives the Giants the best chance to win at the quarterback position. And it's very clear that the coaches and the players, his teammates, they all believe that. Everyone's on board with that. And, it's just great to see some of these guys, to the media, to all the beat reporters, publicly saying this and expressing their confidence in their quarterback. And then the other note that from Jalen Hyatt's press conference was when he was talking about Malik Nabers. One thing I thought was kind of important was that he mentioned just how since Malik Nabers got drafted a little over a month ago, he's just brought so much confidence to the entire room. And Hyatt mentioned, he's like, we are all going to benefit from Malik Nabers being here. It's going to help all of us, get more open, see less double teams. And, he mentioned Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Nabers himself. The Giants have a young group of wide receivers now. That wide receiver room is relatively young. Obviously, you have a few older veterans mixed
Allen
in.
Robinson.
But
Darius Slayton.
The top of the depth chart, if we're going to count Darius Slayton, who's now going into his 6th season.
Seems like his 20th.
Does seem like it. He's going to his 6th. But those other three guys, Nabers, Hyatt, and Wan'Dale, are all the maximum. The highest is the 3rd season, which is Wan'Dale Robinson. And he hasn't even had one full season yet.
I know.
Because his first season got cut short. His second season got delayed. So this is the first offseason now where the Giants will have, especially those 3 young receivers, all healthy, all on the field, participating in all these drills. They'll all be out there for training camp. And I just can't wait to see these group grow and develop with each other.
The other 2 guys who talked today, John Runyon and Deonte Banks. Runyon said it's a new system for him. He's trying to learn it. Good to see the mental reps and how guys are meshing together right now during OTAs. Says it's going well. Says there has been a lot of togetherness away from the field And because he was asked about that, said Justin Pugh, well, the question was, Justin Pugh said it's important to get guys away from the facility. And he stressed that when he got here last year as an aging veteran. Well, Runyon said that's been a priority for this team this year. Guys, offensive and defensive, are getting together and they're doing things together away from the facility. And he says he can see the team chemistry, and it's very important to improve on that every step of the way. Says he knows the team is heavily invested in the O-line. The offensive linemen take that on their shoulders. They take that responsibility, and he thinks they're moving in the right direction. Says JMS is so smart and gets everybody set, and it's just he's thrilled and amazed to work with him because he's so on top of things. Says Neil's getting his body all together, but he's still on top of everything. Said he likes his work habits and his study habits, even though he hasn't been out there for a lot of the practice sessions because of the foot. Said that both guys, JMS and Neil, are very mature for their age. Said he started his career, Runyon that is, at left guard, but feels it's now natural for him to play right guard because he's played there in recent times, and he's fine there. He also says every offensive lineman would rather play in one spot, but it's more valuable to the team if you can learn multiple spots, and he'll play wherever they want him to. He mentioned Brasillo, great attention to detail. He's been fixing some bad habits that Runyon had throughout his career, specifically with his hands, his feet, and how they are correlated to each other. And I thought that was rather interesting because Runyon's been in this league now for more than a half a dozen years. I want to say, is it 6 years now?
I think he's going into his fifth.
Is it his fifth year now?
I believe.
And because he's played a lot of games.
Yes.
And for him to come out and say that, I thought was very significant. And let's see, what else was there? And then finally from Banks, and then we'll let you chip in on this. Banks said he's ready for being the CB1 if they need him to be. Dory Jackson not here anymore, as we all know. Says the team does believe in him, and he's fine. He says it's great to be back with the guys. His number one priority was core strength during the offseason. Let's see. He says they'll play a little bit more zone in the new system, but he says he'll still be a press corner most of the time. Says all the corners in the room motivate each other, and they compete every day. And then I love what he said about Nabers. He says him and Nabers are physically the same person. He goes, he's my guy. Okay. Hey, that's fine. That's a heck of a battle in practice we're going to be seeing. Because he said he did shadow some guys at the end of last season as he felt more comfortable in the system and being able to anticipate things as they were happening. He feels that if they want him to shadow this year, that'd be fine with him also. And really, I think that's all I got. If you had anything else from those two players.
Yeah, I'll start with Banks. When he got here last year, it was very easy to see early on that young man does not lack confidence.
He's having fun.
And I think that has even grown more since the end of last season. I think today was the first time we've heard him speak this offseason, at least, first time in a couple months. And he just sounds so confident in himself and his abilities. And that's great to see for a guy that is going to be the number one cornerback. And, even as a rookie, was already lining up against opposing teams' top receiver. And he's obviously going to, fill that role again this season. Very confident, both in himself and his whole room. He made sure to praise some of the other young cornerbacks in the room and how they're all kind of growing together, because that is another room similar to the wide receivers for the most part. That is a young, youthful group of guys. You don't have a lot of like long-term veteran players in there. David Long has been in the league 5 or 6 years, I want to say.
I want to say at least 4.
Yeah, he's
not longer.
Probably the most veteran of the group that I can think of. Some of the safeties are a little more veteran, but just in terms of the cornerbacks.
Well, Mills has played both positions.
Yeah,
but he's also been around a while.
But yeah, and what Deonte Banks had to say about Malik Nabers, he did say we are basically physically the same person. They are both listed at 200 pounds, and if you ever get a chance to see them up close without pads on, they are both built. They are both so strong. Their arms are huge for guys that are 200 pounds.
They're solid. They are solid.
Very solid. And then with Runyon, the thing that stood out to me the most, I feel like you, me, John, all of us have spent the last 4 or 5 months talking about how important the hire of Carmen Brasillo is to this team, to their success, this season, moving forward, the development of the young offensive lineman, and Runyon basically, praised when asked about Priscillo, had nothing but just glowing words to say about him. I know you brought up the note he said about Carmen's attention to detail, which, having spent the last 2 years in this building with Brian Dable, that comes as no surprise to me, because Brian Dable pays attention to detail.
Indeed.
Very much so. But he also went out of his way to compliment James Ferentz, the new assistant offensive line coach. And that is someone we haven't spent a lot, or at least I have not spent a lot of time talking about, and definitely deserves some credit. Being out here watching all these OTA practices, Ferentz is right up there with the offensive lineman just as much as Priscillo. And I think he had enjoyed a lot of success in the NFL, Ferentz. He was on 2 Super Bowl championship teams, spent 7 seasons with the Patriots, and if you're an offensive lineman, you're not lasting that long with the Patriots unless you're bringing a lot to the table. Bill Belichick is not keeping you around, just for moral support for the rest of the room.
Well, I think that goes back to his childhood. Remember, his dad is Kirk Ferentz, the
True.
longtime Iowa coach, who, by the way, if you don't have a solid team up front with solid players up front, Ferentz doesn't want any part of you. That's just the way Iowa's built.
Oh, yeah.
So young James, from a very early age, knew how to eat his cereal.
Yes, and it's clear that he has, absorbed a lot of knowledge from his father and his father's success. But yeah, Runyon just went out of his way to compliment Ferentz as well, which I thought was a nice little hat tip to the assistant offensive line coach, because you don't see, some of the assistant position coaches getting a lot of praise too often.
That's true.
So that was just good to see. Yeah, I think that's about it.
201-939-4513 is our phone number here. We got about a half hour left in the show. Lines are open. We want to make the rest of the show about you. 201-939-4513. Promotional announcements. Couple of things. First up, coming up on, is it the 20th, is the Madison Square Garden celebration with the Giants and some of almost 24 of their all-time top legends. Tickets are still available. Go to the Giants website for more information. I believe Ticketmaster is also running the sales for those tickets.
Yep.
There still are some available if you'd like to get in on what's going to be an incredible celebration of the Giants' 100th season in the National Football League. The Giants Huddle podcast is always out and available. Another one I believe John put up this week. Features long-form interviews with Giants and NFL players, coaches, experts, etc. Go to your favorite podcast platform or go to giants.com/podcasts. And again, they always ask if you can leave a 5-star review. It kind of helps the ratings for the program. Giants season memberships. You can stay connected to the club all year round, especially for the 2024 season coming up. It is a special 100th season of this franchise. Game day memberships and obviously all year-round memberships are now available. To learn more about exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. And Giants TV is the connected TV streaming app. And it's got all kinds of original content on there, stuff here from the OTAs, etc. And that is free on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. So now we want to get to your phone calls at 201-939-4513. I know we usually have a rule, and John is pretty strict about this, about one call per regular caller during the course of the week. We try to do that for a lot of the year, but then there are some other times where we're willing to take multiple calls from some of our regulars. Today would be one of those days. It's okay. There was a lot of stuff going on at OTAs today, and the media avails. And because there was so much to digest, we just give you a half hour of stuff to chew on. So if you're a regular, even if you've already called this week, you can give us a call back now, and we'll take your call at 201-939-4513. As far as tomorrow, OTA number 10.
Yep.
On Monday, veterans have to report and check in for veteran minicamp. That's mandatory now. Okay, so if somebody's missing, that's a problem, unless they get an excuse and they're allowed to not be here. So that's an issue. Okay, you want to make sure that you have full attendance if at all possible. Then Tuesday and Wednesday, there'll be actual minicamp practices. Okay, Then on Thursday, that's breakaway day. All right, there might be a walkthrough in the morning. I'm not sure if Coach is going to give them a quick walkthrough or not, but it's a half day.
Yeah, no actual practice on Thursday.
No, it might be a walkthrough, maybe. I'm not even sure if there was going to be. But that's a half day, and everybody enjoy lunch and go ahead, get out. That's where the summer vacation starts for the players until they come back.
For training camp.
Yeah, I want to say July 20-something. We haven't actually announced that yet, so I don't want to be premature and put that out there for everybody quite yet. But that is the case. I know at some point the Giants will also release the information about the free tickets that you can get through the website for the training camp visits so that you guys can come out here during late July and have an opportunity to see the team practice. We do already know, as Brian Dable has commented, to expect the Detroit Lions to be here for some dual practices before they play the first preseason game against the Lions here at MetLife Stadium. It is my understanding that you could expect those practices to be part of the fans' opportunity to watch summer training camp. Remember, we were in Detroit last year, and the folks in Detroit had the fans in attendance for those dual practices. It is my understanding that is to be expected this summer, but again, nothing official until it comes out and you guys have the opportunity to put your name in to get those tickets.
Yeah, just one other, I guess, a little promotional announcement. The Giants announced this morning the 100th season celebration weekend, which is going to be the weekend of the season opener. There are events Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Starting Friday night is going to be the annual Fan Fest, which I know a lot of our fans have enjoyed the last couple of years. Big celebration. There will be autograph opportunities with some Giants legends, panel discussions on the team history, some on-field celebration and appearances by some members of the top 100 Giants, fireworks show. You know, a lot of what we've seen from Fan Fest in the past, but even more so with the 100th season. And then on Saturday, September 7th, is the Giants 5K, the Giants Foundation 5K. Again, something that has been done the last couple of years. It's been a pretty big success. Highly recommend signing up and taking part of that. And then, of course, Sunday is the season opener. The Week 1 matchup against the Minnesota Vikings.
September
8th. Where, looking at this press release, it says the team will be wearing their 100th season Century Red uniform at the home opener. So it'll be the first chance to see the new uniforms, which I like the uniforms. I know there have been some differing opinions online, but for the 100th season, a season that clearly there is a lot of significance about the history of the franchise and everything that's come before, the 2024 season. I think it's just a great way to honor the early history, because even when we talk about Giants history, it's a lot of the time, it's, Lawrence Taylor talk, Phil Simms talk. Like, it's guys that in the grand scheme of our organization, not even close to the beginning of where this franchise started. Well, the franchise started in 1925, and these uniforms, from the helmet to the jersey down to the pants and socks, these are all parts of the uniforms that were worn, varying from 1925 to 1938, which is obviously before most Giants fans were even born. So I get why some people, maybe were like, I don't understand it, but everything about the season is about honoring the history and what has come before. And that's why I'm a fan of these uniforms. Well, I can't wait to see them week 1.
Understand this. The Giants are only going to be the 4th team in NFL history to celebrate a 100th season. The Cardinals, the Bears, and the Packers are the other 3 that already reached 100 before the Giants did. So, that's a pretty significant landmark when you consider that there are well more than 24 teams in the National Football League, and the Giants are only the 4th team to get to 100.
Yeah. So I, for one, cannot wait to see these uniforms. I think when the fans see them on the players week 1 on the field, I feel like the the reaction will be a little more positive than what maybe it was originally. But
well, there'll be a heck of a lot more positive if they win the game.
Oh, of course. If they go 2-0 in those uniforms this year, everyone will be loving the Century Red uniforms.
And that's the other thing, by the way. 201-939-4513 is our phone number on the program. That's the other thing about the Century Red, uniforms, and that is they can wear them up to 2 times during the season. So there may or may not be a second game when they do. That has yet to be determined. We just know that they're going to wear them opening day against the Vikings. So if you want to be guaranteed an opportunity to see those suckers in person, this is the game you got to go to, because you just don't know when that other game may be or may not be. And quite honestly, the other thing is with the NFL's flex scheduling, that can get a little tricky too if you haven't made plans ahead, or if you're trying to make plans ahead of time and then all of a sudden they get changed.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I excited. Obviously, I can't wait for week 1 for a multitude of reasons, but seeing these uniforms in person for the first time is definitely high up there on my list.
Now, 201-939-4513 is our number here on Big Blue Kickoff Live if you want to give us a call. There's a kind of non-Giants piece of news that came out this morning, but I do think it's kind of relevant because when
Giants,
we're talking about...
but not Giants.
Yeah, we're kind of talking about Giants history and respect and tradition. Sterling Shepard agreed to a 1-year deal, reportedly, according to NFL Network, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this morning. Now, I will tell you this. Sterling Shepard was really a true blue Giant. He gave everything he had to this organization, often injured, during a career where, you know what, I still feel he gave them value as a second-round draft pick. He was on the one really important playoff team in 2016, that was a light in the middle of a dark period, and then, of course, was in a smaller role for the 2022 playoff team as he was injured and had to basically be a cheerleader from the sidelines. And Brian Dable talked about his value and contribution to that squad, even though he wasn't playing, and I think that as much as anything speaks to the character of the man and how much he really loved this franchise. And I was of the opinion in speaking with him at the end of last season, that he had come to peace with the fact that injuries had robbed him of a more spectacular career, and that he was, in all likelihood, probably ready to call it a day. But the surprise this morning was that he had agreed to a 1-year deal with Tampa. So I'm for one, going to wish him all the best, because I can't imagine anybody would root against Sterling Shepard.
Oh, it would be crazy for any Giants fan to root against him. He, as you mentioned, is just a true blue Giant in every sense of the term. I mean, finished his career 5th all-time in Giants history in receptions. I think we all remember that last home game where the offense went out of its way to try to make sure that he got that last reception to move above Jeremy Shockey for sole possession of 5th place. The guy gave it his all every single time he stepped on the field. Even when, as you mentioned, even when he was hurt 2 years ago when the Giants were on that playoff run, let's not forget, he was showing up to every game, whether it was home or away.
Every practice, too.
But I meant showing up to every game wearing a different custom-made T-shirt honoring one of his teammates.
Yep.
I don't remember. I remember there was a Dexter Lawrence one. There was a Darius Slayton one, a Daniel Jones one. I don't remember the others. But he became the hype man for the team. There was a whole article, I want to say maybe by The Athletic, Charlotte Carroll, I think, pretty much calling him the Giants hype man. And he gave everything he had to this organization, both on and off the field. And I think all of us can say that we are all rooting for him to make the team, to contribute to the Buccaneers having some success this season.
I don't know about that now, because Tampa Bay plays the Giants this year. So let's forget about the Buccaneers' success. But good for Sterling, and I hope he does well.
Well, not that game then.
Okay.
But yeah, I wish nothing but the absolute best for Sterling Shepard. If this is how he wants to end his career with one, maybe more, but at least one more season, then I hope he's able to achieve that and achieve everything he's going out for in this
I will add this. it was very heartwarming. Giants were in Dallas last year, and on their last drive, they force-fed Sterling Shepard near the end zone to try to get him a touchdown catch, and he wound up finally catching it after a couple of tries. They were able to complete the pass and get him the touchdown. He was so proud of being able to catch that touchdown. And his teammates, I was on the sideline right there on the goal line. His teammates were so thrilled for him. They knew, obviously the season was not what they wanted. It was kind of scuffling along. They were not going to win that game at that point. It was late in the game, and we knew the game was out of reach. But they made sure, Coach Dable made sure, Coach Kafka made sure that they got him that touchdown. And as it turns out, Sterling Shepard wound up catching at least one touchdown pass in every season with the New York Giants. Yes. And I know to a lot of people that probably doesn't mean much, but trust me, to these athletes who are very competitive, they like to be able to, however small the accomplishment may seem to you, they do like to be able to stick that feather in their cap. And it would look a little odd if you looked at his career record and then saw 1 year with 0 touchdown catches. That no athlete wants to see 0 on his stat line at any time during his career, period. And I'm just telling you that being there on the goal line when he caught the ball, it was a heartwarming feeling, and everybody felt good for him. I just want to add that.
When you're in the market for a new SUV, you want a vehicle that will handle your daily commute, navigate the elements, and can adventure with ease. You need the reliability of a Toyota and the confidence that your investment will last. Why? Because after all the carpools, rugged trails, and weekends out, you want an SUV that still has plenty of miles left in it and holds its value for a great trade-in deal. That's where Toyota leads the pack as the #1 resale value brand for 2024, according to Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com. So check out the legendary redesigned Land Cruiser or spacious Grand Highlander or test drive a RAV4. Available in gas, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid models. And remember, when you choose Toyota, you're not just buying a car for today. You're investing in trade-in value for tomorrow. Visit buyatoyota.com, the official website for deals, for more. Vehicles projected resale value is specific to the 2024 model year. For more information, visit KelleyBlueBooksKBB.com. Kelley Blue Book is a registered trademark of Kelley Blue Book Co., Inc. Toyota. Let's go places.
Yeah.
201-939-4513 is our phone number. We go to line 1. Len in Maryland. You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hi.
Good. What's going on, Len?
Yeah. I was kind of pleased to hear you mention the new assistant line coach's name, Ferenc. I think that's an under-the-radar signing. And let me tell you why I think that way. Obviously, he's got some tremendous experience, and I think he knows. how to play the offensive line.
Yeah, I think so.
I see it as a guy, and geez, I don't. Is he even 30 years old yet? He's really kind of a young guy.
We'll check on that for you.
Good for him. Yeah, good for him. But I think he's got one job and one job only: to make John Michael Smith a major league center in the NFL.
JMS. Michael Schmitz.
Yeah, Schmitz. I think that's his. I think that's going to be a big part of his job. Just working
it
day
probably
in, day
is.
out with Schmitz.
I haven't talked to James, by the way, Len. I have not talked to him, so I don't know if he has a particular priority or focus. I don't know that for sure, but that makes a lot of sense since he was a center.
Yeah, he was a center in the NFL for almost 10 seasons. And just by the way, he just turned 35 yesterday, actually.
He's a young pup, Len. He's a young pup.
Yeah. And he had a fight to last as long as he did in the NFL. I think he was an undrafted free agent. So he knows how to make it. He knows how to make it in the NFL, and I think he's really going to help Schmitz, and that'll be great. That first weekend of the season sounds like a lot of fun, and can't wait for that first game. A lot of festivities going on. There's only one thing missing in my mind. They should be playing their longest tenured rival in
Washington.
that opening game.
That's
it
what you wanted?
Washington.
Yeah.
Should be Washington. We played them every year for over 90 years, Paulie.
You know what, Len? I thought if the league, and again, we know they go through thousands of combinations to figure out their schedule. I thought it was logical that the Giants would open up at home for their 100th season so that they could have this type of celebration. I thought that was very likely. I thought the league would understand that and would acquiesce to that situation. Right. But in terms of all of the other things that were involved, I separated everything else and I just said, okay, from a historical perspective, if you just looked at tradition and history, who are the possible opponents if you strictly look at it from that angle? And, of course, they can't because they have a billion things they look at. I thought Washington, for the reason you just stated, and I thought the Colts. And even though they're the Indianapolis Colts, the Baltimore Colts have a significant part of Giants history embedded in that horseshoe helmet. So despite the fact that it was Indy, I thought the Colts potentially could have also made some sense. But as it turned out, there's no history really relating to the Minnesota Vikings. I get the playoff games that they've had, but there's really no historical, traditional significance of the Vikings being the home opener.
Oh, I know. I know. You know, I keep seeing them as an expansion team. I go back to the so-called original six in the NFL.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, in the East, I thought, geez, it had to be one of the East rivals anyway.
Well, Len, you remember when the Minnesota Vikings were going to be created, they were going to be an AFL expansion team. You remember that, right? The AFL was all set to add the Minnesota Vikings to their league. And then the NFL said, we're going to make a preemptive strike, and we're going to give them an NFL franchise before the AFL can put them into play. And that's how they wound up in the NFL.
Yeah. But, you know, back to the Colts rivalry, of course, we do play them, and we play them at home.
Yes.
And, you know, it's late December. I haven't taken the time to match up the dates, Paul.
It is the date. It is. Len, it is. It's the anniversary of the championship game in 1958.
Well, there you go. Is it on that date, Paul?
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness!
It's on that date. So they
well,
did.
That's pretty good.
They did figure out a historical tie to the Colts and Giants to put that game in December where they did, which is probably the reason that they didn't make it the Week 1 game.
You know, where Amici came through that hole in the bleacher end of the old Yankee Stadium, guys, I was 15 rows up. Amici ran right at me. If I'd have been on the field, I'd have tried to make that tackle.
Well, why didn't you? I mean, come on now.
I was sitting right there.
Oh,
that was a wonderful 3 weeks in a row, Paul. I actually saw all three of those games. I was there for the Summerall field goal, that 10-0 playoff game where they held Brown to 9 yards.
Yep.
And then that champion. Now I sat in different seats. There were different. You know, they didn't sell out in those days. You could kind of get tickets during the week for those 3 games, as big as they were.
Well,
and
now, Len,
that kicked the NFL off. That's where the NFL started.
Well, that's why it's the greatest game ever played, right? That's why it got dubbed that. And to this point, when I look at the NFL and I talk about the history of the NFL and people ask me about teams and players, and I always say there are 2 lines of demarcation for me. It's 1958, which kicked off the modern-day NFL, when the NFL actually became a true national obsession, okay?
Yeah.
I look at that first, the greatest game ever played, and then number 2, I look at the 1970 merger, when the AFL and NFL came together. To me, those are the 2 lines of demarcation when you talk about recent history of the NFL. It's got to be one of those 2 lines. And I will say this, by the way, I don't think it's going to happen, but the Colts game could technically be moved to the 29th. It's technically the 28th or the 29th. I can't see the NFL, which kind of put the Colts and Giants together that weekend. I can't see them moving the game to the 29th. I think that game's going to stay on the 28th.
Yeah, well, it should. It should. Hey, let me ask you a quick question. Defensive line. You did a nice job the other day, Paul. And Matt's got some input on this too, the defensive line. You did a nice job the other day trying to explain to us what you thought. You know, we don't know for sure yet, but what you thought, how they were going to play, these linemen up front. I'm talking about up front now. You look at the roster, they got some big men, But, geez, they all look like nose tackles, Paul. I mean, they're nose tackle. I mean, they're like 6 deep at nose tackle. I mean, who else? Who else lines up next to
I've
Dexter?
talked about this, Matt, so why don't you get involved?
I mean, if we're talking nose tackle, that's just Dexter Lawrence. If Dexter Lawrence is healthy.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm talking nose tackle size. I mean, if you look at the new guys, if you look at Phillips, he's 330 pounds.
All right, so
Davidson and Riley from last year. There's some big men there, but they look like they're all nose tackle. I mean, who else gets on the field?
I will say,
who plays next to
Phillips, just body and size wise, he does kind of remind me of Dexter. I would say Dexter's a lot faster and quicker than Phillips, but just from size, I would say they are pretty similar. But looking at Riley, Ryder Anderson, DJ Davidson, I don't see just straight nose tackles when I see those guys lining up, and I see kind of how quick they are. I mean, Riley, I've spoken about on the show several times. I think he could develop into that guy that ends up earning the spot next to Dexter Lawrence. He's a very athletic big man.
Yeah.
I mean, he is humongous. Jordan Riley is probably the biggest guy on the team, or up there as the biggest guy on the team. But he is deceivingly quick for a guy his size.
Okay. But if you're going to, Matt, if you're going to play, and Paul described it this way. Now, again, we don't know what's really going to happen here, but if you're going to play a 2-4-5, with 2 down linemen, so one of the other guys can play next to Dexter. Yeah. And as Paul tried to explain it the other day, because we don't really know. We're going to see Thibs and Burns maybe with their hands in the ground coming out of the defensive end position. I don't want to see anything where Dexter automatically gets double teamed. And Thibs is. I like Thibs. He's going to be a terrific player. If you had to pick one, pass rush or run stopping, he's a better pass rusher than he is a run stopper. And I think we're going to see that with Burns too. I don't want to see us. The last couple of seasons, it's been so frustrating. We get gashed, particularly mid to late season. I just hope it all works.
Len,
I wish we had some, like everybody else.
Len,
I hope it all works.
I'm going to try to alleviate some of your stress here because it's going to be. I think it's going to be situational. Okay, the Giants have so many of these moving parts between the defensive linemen, and let's just group all the defensive linemen together, and then the edge rushers who are going to be pseudo defensive ends. Tibbs can play down some. Burns can play down some. Both can play stand up. Okay? So I see a lot of versatility in the number of guys you can have on the front line. Let's get away from the numbers for a minute because the numbers of the scheme usually indicates the guys who are down. We had that conversation with Jonathan the other day. So if you have, for example, Matt, 2 down linemen and then 2 stand-up backers who are on the line, it's a 4-man front, but it's technically a 2-4 because you got 2 inside backers. It's a 2-4-5.
Yeah.
But it's a 4-man front.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau are both listed as outside linebackers, but they're on the line of scrimmage pretty much every play.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't really maybe we should totally disband the number formations because that's going to confuse people.
Yeah.
But Coach Bowen has always shown a tendency, and we've seen it here as well, and I'm not giving anything away because in the open media sessions we've seen 4-man fronts. He uses much more 4-man fronts than 3-man fronts or 5-man fronts.
Yep.
He's very big on 4-man fronts. Those 4 can be a lot of different combinations. And, one of the things we talked about the other day, you could have Dexter, the only guy with his hand down, over the center, and you could have 3 stand-up linebackers on a 4-man front.
Yeah.
You could do that. Or you could put one of those linebackers down or 2 of those linebackers down, and maybe one of them was only standing up. There's a lot of ways you can go here.
Yeah, and so much versatility between the defensive linemen, the outside linebackers. I mean, I was talking with John about this, I think it was last week. when the Giants won 2 Super Bowls against the Patriots, it was the defense and the pass rush that played obviously such a crucial role in those Super Bowls. And those defensive fronts, the defensive lines, was a combination. The first Super Bowl, Michael Strahan, Osi Umenyiora, Justin Tuck. And then the second one, Justin Tuck, JPP.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are going to see, I feel like, a variety of different defensive line rotations and formations.
I think
because
so too.
There's so many guys that can line up at multiple positions. And I think we're going to see at times sort of like the NASCAR package we saw on those 2 Super Bowl teams, where it's maybe like 4 outside linebackers that are, or the defensive ends, whatever you want to call them, as your 4 down linemen. Now, I think Dexter Lawrence will obviously be on the field as much as possible. So it could be Dexter Lawrence and then, Brian Burns, Kayvon, and Azeez Ojulari. That might be, at least in terms of passing situations, I feel like your 4 best pass rushers on the field together. Just one other thing that Len mentioned, he said that he didn't want to see Dexter Lawrence get double teamed. The simple fact of the matter is, when you go to back-to-back All-Pros and become potentially the best defensive lineman in the entire NFL, it doesn't matter who else is around you, you're going to see double teams.
That's right.
You're going to see probably a good amount of them. But all that means is that if he's getting double teamed, you have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau on the outside with one blocker on them, one guy responsible for trying to block them. And I will take those odds any day. Obviously, I would love to see Dexter get as many one-on-one situations as possible. But if double teaming him means you have Burns and Kayvon coming from the edge.
Well, and your other DT is going to be one-on-one also, whoever that turns out to be.
Your other DT as well. But I'm just talking more of those 2 edge guys because, you remember our conversation last week. You know how we both feel about the potential of those 2 off the edge this season.
Yeah.
I will sign up for getting those 2 as many one-on-one matchups as possible, even if that means Dexter seeing a little more double teams.
Final thought on that, and Matt, I'm sure you would agree, game flow has a lot to do with that, and we appreciate the fact that the Giants' rush defense has to get better, but as I described in yesterday's show, if game flow is better and your offense is scoring more points, and hopefully if your offensive line can control more of the tempo and the flow of the game, well then guess what? Then the other team is not going to be so interested in running the ball 30 times. They'll be throwing the ball more, which might play into your pass rush if your pass rush has the teeth that we think it will. So that could also reduce the amount of rushing effectiveness opponents have against the Giants. If the offense can be more efficient, get leads, score more points, control the clock, and so forth and so on. Anyway, final thought, just to give this to you, on the Giants official roster, Neal and Lawrence are listed at 340 pounds. They're listed as the biggest ones on the team right now. In any event.
What's Riley at? I'm just curious.
Oh, Riley.
Can't be that far down.
Oh, where is he? They got him at 315.
315. All right. But
I think that was before lunch.
6'5".
I think that was before lunch. I really do. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. As always, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Giants. Remember, you can always find the podcast, the archive of this show on Giants.com/podcasts. We are here every weekday, usually from 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time till 1:30 p.m., and we talk Giants football. Jot down the number again, 201-939-4513. From Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. We'll see you again next time.
Love is more than a feeling. It's a connection, a bond, a look, and yes, even a tail wag. And the Pedigree brand believes love can happen at first sight. In fact, it's closer than you think. So, if you're looking for love, look in all the right places by joining the Pedigree Adoption Drive at your local dog shelter on June 7th to 9th. And Pedigree will reimburse your dog adoption fees. Visit pedigree.com/adoption-drive to learn more and see full terms and conditions.
Tomorrow.
What is this place?
In these woods, we are prey. The Watchers allow us to live because we follow their rules.
You can't see them, but they see everything.
No one sees one and survives.
From producer M. Night Shyamalan. Written for the screen and directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan.
Let them see you.
What are they doing?
Applause for you, Mina.
The Watchers, in theaters tomorrow. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13.